Hey everyone, ahlan wa sahlan fikum. Welcome back to another transcript video. Today we're going to do part 2 of the third transcript. Again, you can download it on the Patreon if you're on there. Otherwise, we're going to go through it together right now. You know, I was this close to actually streaming this session. Actually, I've been thinking about doing these annotated transcripts like in a stream, and then we can ask questions or just having a stream in general where people just can drop in and ask questions. But I think that people are in all kinds of different time zones, and also the usually these videos by themselves are just like an hour long. So this one I expect to be much shorter. We'll see how you should know by now, since this video will be uploaded. But let me know in the comments like what you think, like if that would be interesting to you. The thing is, again, like it just depends on if people are going to come and watch and participate. Otherwise, I might as well just record it because it makes me a little nervous to do it live, maybe. But yeah, so let me know what you think about that. Maybe I can do that in the future, but for now, I'm just gonna record this. But I've also added a cool new. I've added the intro into. I'm learning all this like streaming, like all this stuff, like how to use all of it. So it's cool. It's exciting. So yeah, let's get started. Well, I hope that worked. Anyway, yeah, so let's get started with the reading. Again, this is part 2. So if you haven't seen part 1 yet, go and check that out. Fortunately, at this point, if you've been watching all the transcript videos, you should. I mean, I don't want to repeat too much stuff that we've covered before, and I think we've actually covered a lot. So at this point, we can kind of go faster, I think. So as usual, I'm just going to read it all the way through once, and then we'll go through it line by line. So again, this is the second part. So in the video, the kids were playing with kids from another neighborhood, and so now you have the sort of moms kind of like chatting about that and seeing like what they think about that. So Yazan says, ha ha ha, ما أحلاهم الأولاد كيف بيسلوا حالهم بس مين هدول الأولاد اللي معاهم يسلموا ايديكي على هالقهوة الزاكية ما أحلى ريحتها صحتين وهنا. تعرفي يا يزن شكله هدول الأولاد من الحارة الفوقنية. ما بدكم تعرفوا شو سمعت؟ بيقولوا إنه في عيلة من الحارة الفوقنية بدهم يسكنوا بالشقة الفاضية اللي بالعمارة. ييه شو مالك نقزتي؟ شو بصير جيرانا يعني؟ بس ما هم بالمرة مش زينا. وليش لازم يكونوا زينا يا يزن؟ لا يعني يمكن يكونوا مناح بس عادي يعني أولادهم يلعبوا مع أولادكم. ييه شو فيها يعني؟ ايه اشرب اشربوا القهوة بلاش تبرد. رايح أجيبلكم هريسة بتشهي بس بليز إذا طلعوا الأولاد نادوني بسرعة خليني استجوبهم. ها 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 حاضر يا برج المراقبة. منصاف منصاف. إجوا؟ ها 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 لا بس بدي أقول لك إنه ما بدنا نغلبك. يي ولا غلبة ولا إشي تفضلوا. And then she like realizes something and she's like يا علي من اللخمة جبت الشوكة والصحن الغلط. شو مالهم؟ خلص بناكل بأي إشي. لا يعني بس هم هدول اللي بخليهم للبنت اللي بتيجي بتنظف لي البيت. ما تاخذيني ما انتم لخمتوني لما نديتوني هيك. يعني مش فاهمة انت ما بتجليهم؟ لا طبعا بجليهم بس يعني وبعدين ما هالبس ما بتوقعها منك يا منصاف. And then they're just start eating the food. بتشهي هالهريسة وخاصة بهالشوكة وهالصحن. Well, I'll explain later. Anyway, أيوة يا زين روح. Now they're playing soccer. جول. برافو يابا لعب حلو ورائع. بدعتوا. وشباب الفريق الثاني كمان بدعوا. And then this is the debrief. Actually, it's kind of another scene, so I should have said. يعني احنا حتى لو مختلفين بأشياء بس في كثير أشياء بتجمعنا وهذا الأهم. كلنا لازم نحترم بعض ونطلع على الأشياء الحلوة المشتركة ونكون إيد واحدة حتى نقدر نبني مستقبلنا مع بعض. وما تنسوا تعملوا share وسبسكرايب. That applies to you guys too. Please share and subscribe. Yeah, so that's the reading for today. Again, I think it's shorter than in the past. So hopefully we can go through it a little bit more quickly. So yeah, so here in the beginning, I mean, hopefully you've watched the actual original video or you have it, you know, side by side. Basically, Imyezen is like standing at the window looking at the kids playing around. So she says, ha ha ha, you know, ma ahlahum lulad. Now, already, this is one of the concepts that I wanted to cover today. Ma ahla or ma ahla or ma ahlahum. What does this all mean? So, it's actually better to translate this almost into Spanish if you were to know Spanish. But so this is how you say how cute or how nice or how lovely or how smart. You know, how something like when you're sort of recognizing something. The way that you do this in Arabic is having ma, which again is not the ma of negation. This ma has so many different uses, and this is another one of them. So you have this ma, and then you have the comparative form of the adjective. So that's the second element. So the first element is the ma. Second element is the comparative form of the adjective. So for example, kabir, big. Akbar, bigger. So I guess ma akbar would be how big. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, I guess I just never say that. But so that's the second part. And you could just say ma ahla. But the thing is that the third part, it needs to be followed by whatever you are referring to. So as you'll see later, well, let's start with this. So the third element in this case is indicated, like what you're talking about is indicated by a suffix. So the three elements are the ma, the comparative form of the adjective, and then whatever you're referring to. So ma ahlahum, how sweet they are. You know, ahla from hilu, meaning sweet or nice. So ma ahlahum, how cute or how nice or, you know, how lovely. So how cute the kids are. I guess here it's a little bit, well, you say ma ahlahum, that third part is the suffix, right? But you still say alulad, just to sort of specify, I guess. So how cute the kids are, how kif bisallu halhum. So remember, hal is used to refer, it kind of has a few different uses in a way, but it means like someone's situation, but it's also is used to refer to like myself or yourself or themselves. So that's what's happening here. So if I ask kif halek, that's how are you, but it's like, I mean, you also use the halek to say yourself. And in this case, that's how it's being used. So bisallu, it means, so salla is to entertain someone. So bisallu, they entertain, halhum, themselves, right? So kif bisallu halhum, how they entertain themselves. Yeah, so basmin, but who are hadol alulad, these kids, illi mahum, who are with them. Remember the illi is just sort of starts a subordinate clause that sort of gives further information about a noun. So alulad, the kids, illi mahum, who are with them. So, but who are these kids who are with them? And then Imsanad says, oh, this is Yislamu, it's like thank you. It's a way of saying thank you. Well, and the full part is actually Yislamu ideki. So idek, your hands. So it's actually kind of like saying bless your hands for, you know, doing something. So thank you, Ala, for this ahwa az-zaki, this delicious coffee. Zaki is delicious. And then here it is again. So this is the other example. Ma ahla rihetha. So in this case, you have the first element, ma, second element, comparative adjective, ahla. But here, since you are already, like, instead of having a suffix, you just, the whole noun is specified. So there's no suffix in this case. Usually you just do use the suffix, but if you do have the noun right away, then of course you don't need it because then it's kind of redundant. Although you did say originally, it did say ما أحلاهم الأولاد, but that's fine. Like, you could even say ما أحلاها ريحتها. That would be fine too, actually. But in this case, that's not what it says, so it's fine. So riha is smell. So rihitha, how nice it smell. Yeah. So there's lots of uses. I mean, even mahla. This I say this so much, like mahlak, like how nice of you. Basically, I mean, it's like saying how nice you are, but it's like also saying how nice of you. So this is a fantastic expression. Yeah, and then ساعتين وهنا. I wrote bon appetit because there's really no translation for this. It's just like ساعتين. صحة is like health, right? So ساعتين is two healths, and profit and whatever. So it's just a way of saying, like, yeah, bon appetit, or like go ahead, or enjoy. I mean, that kind of thing. So yeah. Okay, بتعرفي يا أم يزن. So بتعرفي, you know أم يزن. It's just like we say in English. أم يزن. شكله, remember, شكله, I think it's come up before, but شكل plus a suffix is a way of saying something seems. So شكله, it seems. شكلك, you seem. شكلي, I guess I seem. So شكله هدول الأولاد, it seems that these kids, yeah, so it seems that I mean, that's different from saying these kids seem, right? This is just like shiklu, like it seems, like sort of in general, right? Not like these kids seem, although it kind of amounts to the same thing. But yeah, anyway, so shiklu hadul lulad, it seems these kids, min, are from al-Hara al-Fuqniya. Hara is a neighborhood. Fuqniya, it's kind of a weird word. Fo is up, right? But in this case, Fuqniya specifically is like, it really is like saying up the street in English, because Hara, even though it's a neighborhood, it's also sort of, yeah, it could be translated this way too. So al-Hara al-Fuqniya, not very important, but yeah, so up the street. ما بدكم, don't you want to know? ما بدكم تعرفوا شو سمعت. So ما بدكم تعرفوا, don't you want to know شو سمعت, what I heard. بيقولوا, they say بيقولوا إنه, that في عائلة, there is a family. Remember, في, there is. من الحارة الفوقانية, from up the street. There's a family from up the street. بدهم يسكنوا, they want to live, reside, يسكن, بالشقة الفاضية. So شقة is apartment. فاضي is empty, right? So الشقة الفاضية is the empty apartment. اللي, which is بالعمارة. عمارة is another word for building. So yeah, so there's a family from up the street that wants to live in the empty apartment in the building. Yeah, I wrote this. This is very common, like weird interjection. It's just like, oh, or yeah, I don't even know. It's like, it can be positive, it can be negative. In this case, it's like eek, like yeah, kind of like shock. So yeah, okay. Shu Malik. Remember, Malik means like what's wrong, what's wrong with you, or Malha. Actually, this was in the first part of the video. Malha is something wrong with her, or yeah, that kind of thing. So Shu Malik, like what's wrong. Naesti is like you were startled, or you flinched. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah. Shu يصيروا جيراننا يعني. So صار, remember, it means to become. So they will become. جيران is neighbor, or neighbors rather. So they will become our neighbors يعني. But ما هم, the ma, remember, this is one of those, I know it can mean so many different things, but in this case it's kind of a throwaway word. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just like, well, it's almost like it just adds emphasis. So هم بالمرة مش زينة means they, هم, they, بالمرة, at all. Remember, this means like never, or at all, or by no means, or like something like that. So هم بالمرة مش زينة. مش زينة, not like us. So بالمرة مش زينة, not like us at all. هم بالمرة مش زينا. They are not like us at all. And the ma is almost like adding emphasis to say like, well, aren't they like not like us at all? You know, so yeah, it's just adds kind of additional stress. Yeah. So then Yazan, or sorry, Imsanad says, and why do they have to be like us? So ulesh and why لازم يكونوا, why should they be زينا, like us, يا Yazan. لا, and then Imam Saf comes in and says لا يعني يمكن يكونوا مناح. So يمكن is maybe, يمكن يكون or يمكن يكونوا, they may be. مناح is good, and I put people in parentheses because منيح is good. So منيح is the just singular, and then مناح is plural for people. I don't know if you know this, but so adjectives, sometimes they're different for, like, the plurals are different if you're talking about people. Because the thing is, if you're talking about inanimate objects, if you're talking about like bottle, right? So if you have many bottles, like the plural of objects is they're treated like feminine nouns. Sorry, I'm bringing this out of the blue, kind of. But like if you have beit is a house. Buyut is treated as feminine because it's a inanimate object and it's in plural. So al-buyut helwa, for example. So al-beit hello, the house is nice. Al-buyut helwa, they are nice. And helwa is clearly a feminine adjective, but it's applied to buyut, which is plural because it's an inanimate object and it's plural. Sorry, this is kind of a grammar issue that maybe should be explained in another setting. But yeah, so mnah, what's happening here is, if you were talking about houses, al-buyut mniha, the houses are good. But because you're talking about people, there's a special, like, I mean, it's not that there's a special plural for mnih. There's only one plural for mnih, and it's mnah. But it's only applied to humans because non-humans would take the feminine singular. Does that make sense? So there's only one plural, but it only applies to people. So nah, by definition, only applies to people. So even though it doesn't say good people, just by saying nah, you know that it must be talking about people. Okay, I think that clarified the issue. I didn't expect to explain that. That's why I wasn't prepared for that one. But yeah, so so they might be good people. But then still she says, بس عادي يعني أولادهم يلعبوا مع أولادكم. So بس عادي is like literally means normal, but it's like, is it okay? Is it okay for their kids, أولادهم يلعبوا, that they play مع أولادكم, with your kids? يه, again يه, شو فيها يعني, شو فيها, like, yeah, it's like, what about it? You know, what is it? What about it? Like, what does it matter? Literally, what is in it, right? This is kind of like a dismissive kind of sometimes it can mean yes, but in this case, just like اشربوا القهوة. Oh, oops. Plural. اشربوا, drink. القهوة بلاش تبرد. Balash, it's a useful word. It has also several uses, but in this case, it's a way, it's like the opposite of ashan. So ashan is in order to. So balash is so as not to. So, you know, I'm going to put the coffee or the water in the boiler ashan, so that it boils. In this case, it's drink the coffee, balash tobrod. So that it not get cold. So barad, to get cold, tobrod, you know, so that it not get cold. And tobrod, it's feminine because it's al-ahwa. So you don't want the coffee to get cold, so drink it, right? So balash. Okay, رايحة, I'm going. أجيبلكم, so I'm going to bring for you, right? Jab means to bring. So أنا أجيب إلكم, for you. Harissa, it's a food. Google it. It's just a type of food. Bitshahi. This is a funny word. It comes from the word for appetite. So I asked a lot of people, like, how would you translate this? But I think my I mean, I like to. I mean, the thing is, I've translated as delicious harisa. Delicious is an adjective though, but bitshahi is obviously a verb. Um, and so that's why I've put it as like appetizing, because it comes from the word appetite. So um, it translates as saying that it's just delicious, but technically it's a verb that is saying like it makes, yeah, it creates an appetite. It makes you want you to eat it. So that's all it is. It's not very, you're not going to see it very much. So but there it is. So bas please. So that's why I put it in red, because it's just the word please. إذا طلعوا الأولاد. I talked about this verb in the my video about coming and going. طلع is to go up, or to leave, or to get on something. I mean, there's really a lot of definitions for it, so you can watch my video about that. But in this case, it means literally to go up. So it's in the most sort of literal sense of tila, because they're in the building, right? So if the kids come up, right? So if the kids come up into the building, naduni, nada means to summon or to call someone over. Yeah, so call me over. Naduni, call me over. Sura. Sura means quickly, or quick, or fast, right? So if the kids come up, call me over fast or quickly. Khalini, allow me. Oh, there should be shadda, but khalini, let me. Astajwibhum. This is weird, but astajwab means to interrogate or to question. So she's just saying it kind of comically, right? So allow me to question them or interrogate them about the other kids, I think. And then ha ha ha. This is just they're just being silly. Hadir is like, I just wrote yes, but it reminds me of how you might say maybe Roger, if you know that, like it's kind of like military speak almost. I don't think this is like military speak, but like I'm just saying that it's sort of a like a kind of she's being sort of not sarcastically, but she's being extra sort of like yes ma'am. Yeah, that's really what it is like. It's like yes ma'am. Yeah, Burj al Muraqab, it means a control tower, like an airport control tower, for example, that kind of thing. So yes, because she's like, I'm gonna interrogate them and all that kind of thing. So they're just being silly. And then Imyazan here, she's just saying Iman Saf. The Iman Saf is in the kitchen, but she's just saying it sort of, I don't know. She's just saying it. Watch the video, it makes more sense in context, of course. But then Iman Saf thinks that she's being called over. So she comes in quick and she's like, Iju. And since she comes in quick, that's why she brings the wrong plates. But yeah, so she comes in and she's like, Iju. And Imyazan says, no. Bas بدي أقول لك, but I want to tell you, أقول لك, إنه that ما بدنا, that we don't want نغلبك. غلب, remember, it means to bother. So I think it was in an earlier video, earlier transcript. ما بدنا نغلبك, we don't want to bother you, right? So we don't want to trouble you with like bringing snacks and stuff like that. She's just being polite. I don't want to dwell too much on this, but I wanted to make a quick note about أقول لك, because this has come up several times, and I think we have a little bit extra time today maybe to discuss this. So the verb is al or gal or qal, or whatever, however you pronounce it. So it's qaf, alif, lam. So that's the ordinary sort of standard past tense, right? And in the present it would be ba'ul. So because the alif becomes a waw. So it's like shaf ana bashuf. Huwa shaf ana bashuf, or huwa bishuf. So huwa al, huwa qal, ana ba'ul, or huwa bi'ul. So there's a long waw, right? But the thing is, okay, so don't get too confused by this or anything. It's not a big. It's really just a pronunciation note, and sometimes people spell it like this too. The thing is, the last letter of al is lam, right? But then what happens? If I say I give you, or I'm bringing you, like she said, ajibelkom, right? you have lam to indicate the object of an action, right? So if أنا بقول لك, right? So it should be, if I'm telling you, then I say بقول لك, to you, right? What happens is that you have the lam of al, of who, or ba'ul, you have the lam at the end, but then you have another lam to indicate the object. So what happens is, because you have these two lam, they get smushed together and converted into a shadda, like in pronunciation. So what happens is you would get a'ul lak, right? Basically what happens, and this is a note about pronunciation in Arabic too, and I'm going to make a detailed video about sort of spelling, or sorry, pronunciation kind of tips and things to keep in mind. But what happens in situations like these, when you have a shadda, like, I don't want to get too detailed into it, but basically what happens in this particular case is that the shadda, because you emphasize the shadda, the stress in the word all falls onto the lam with the shadda. And the long vowel, because that the stress is being put on the shadda, the long vowel is unstressed and it becomes a short vowel in pronunciation. So even though it's ba'ul, if it's I tell you, then it's ba'ul lak. So that the long vowel gets smushed down so that I can emphasize the lam properly, and you really hear the extra lam. Because if I say as ba'ulak, then it sounds like there's no lam, right? It's almost like I'm saying I say you rather than I say to you. So that's what happens. And sometimes people also sort of spell it this way as you say it here, without the waw, even though the waw should be there. But because some people, especially like sort of spell based on how it sounds, then they spell it like this. But sort of like grammatically speaking, like technically speaking, there should be a waw. But you do see this. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so we had some time to talk about that this time, so I figured I would mention it. Okay, so I went through this sentence. Anyway, next, Imam Saf says, right, so we don't want to trouble you. Okay, wala galabe wala ishi. Galabe is like a bother. She's just saying no bother, no nothing. So it's no bother at all. Tfaddalu, help yourselves. Tfaddal, help yourself, or go ahead, or that kind of thing. So help yourselves. And then she notices, then she's like, oh, ya alay. It's like, alay means on me. So she's like, she's just like saying, oh no, like, because she made a mistake, right? And notice I put a fatha on purpose here, because it's not, there's a difference between Ali, which means, well, it's a name for one, but there's a difference between Ali and alay. So alay is, okay, so you have ala, which means on, and then ala, it ends in alif maksura. When you add suffixes to it, I mean, you can say alayk, alayha, right? But when you add the suffix for ana, it's just a ya, right? So ala becomes alay. So you have to have the kasra to emphasize the ay, right? The e for ana. Because if you didn't have the fatha, then it would just sound like Ali, which is a name. So instead it's alay. So yeah, alay. Min al-lakhme. Al-lakhme is like the lakhm means like to fluster, or let's almost like to scare, or I think I don't know how to properly translate, to be honest, but I think fluster is a good word. So from the fluster, here it's being used as a noun. Yeah, so from the fluster, jibit, I brought. Remember, jab, in the past tense, it would be, for ana, it would be jibit. So likewise, huwa shaf, ana shufit. Huwa jab, ana jibit. So the long vowel gets shortened for the like ana, anta, anti, and so on, with a ta at the end. So من اللحمة جبت, أنا جبت الشوكة, fork, والصحن, plate, الغلط, the wrong fork and plate. غلط means wrong, or incorrect. And then Imsanad is like, well, شو مالهم, like, again, mal. So شو مالهم, what's wrong with them? What do they have? Like, what's the big deal? خلاص, never mind that. بناكل we eat. Sorry. بناكل بأي إشي. We'll eat on anything or with anything. There's so بناكل is one pronunciation of to eat. There's also بناكل. You can say either with alif or waw. I actually say بوكل more than باكل, but there's also باكل. So بناكل. We'll eat with anything. لا لا يعني بس هم هدول. So the problem with them, as you'll find out, well, I'll explain after she says it. So لا بس هم هدول, but these ones. So هم is them, and هدول is the those, or these are those. So it's just kind of repetitive, like these ones. Yeah, it is like they these, but yeah, it's like these ones. Illi. Yeah, so it's all part of a single sentence. But هم هدول illi. So these ones are the ones that بخليهم, that I leave. So خلى is to allow or to leave something. So I left my bag at the house, right? So in this case, بخليهم, I leave them. للبنت, to the girl. Illi. So here we have another illi. So these are the ones that I leave for the girl, who, in this case, the illi means who, because, I mean, in English, we use a separate word for people versus things. So I leave, these are the plates that I leave for the girl, who, but in Arabic it's illi and illi. Who, بتيجي, who comes, بتنظف لي, who comes to clean for me, البيت, the house. So نظف means to clean. So هي بتنظف, she cleans. بتنظف لي, she cleans for me, البيت, the house. ما تاخذيني is like pardon me, literally. So it comes from the verb أخذ, which means to take. So ما تاخذيني is like don't take me, but it's like don't yeah, pardon me. ما أنتم لخمتوني. So here's so before it was لخمة, fluster, I said, but in this case it's used, it's the verb, the original sort of verb is used. So لخمتوني, you flustered me. لما, when. ناديتوني, when you called me over. Hey, like that. Okay, so what's going on here? First we have ما أنتم لخمتوني. So what is this ما? This ma, I mean, this I would compare it to, I think it's like the ma of ma ahla. So just how we said ma ahlahum lulad, how cute the kids are. In this case, it's how you flustered me, right? So it's a bit more of a nuanced use of, because I used it first with adjectives, right? But in this case, it's sort of used, yeah, it's used for the same reason, but in a different kind of context, because you're not using an adjective, you're using a verb. So how you flustered me. In this case, you just add it before the verb, as has happened. So ما أنتم لخمتوني. Yeah. لما. Okay, and I translated لما as when. And I don't think we've really seen this before very much in these transcript videos, but لما, it means when, but it's not when as in the question. It's when like illi. So هم هدول اللي بخليهم. These are the ones that I leave, right? But in this case, it's how you scared me. لما ناديتوني, when you called me over. So this when is used to detail about a particular time. So I actually put illi and lamma together. I think those go hand in hand. And actually, I'm going to make a video specifically about this at some point for the people who don't watch the transcript videos. But these are very important words. And I think they're basically have the same function in a way, because illi gives you further information, like begins a clause that gives you further information about a noun, or noun, person, or a thing or something. And lamma also begins a new clause to talk about, but to give further detail about a time, specifically about a time. So it's kind of like illi, but to describe a time specifically. So yeah, that's لما. Then we're kind of almost done in a way, because the rest is pretty simple. Okay, يعني مش فاهمة. So مش فاهمة, I don't understand. Active participle of فهم. انت انت ما بتجليهم. So جلا is to wash plates, specifically to wash plates. So she's asking انت, you. So here the ma is actually negating. So you don't wash them. ما, so جلا تجليهم. So you don't wash them. لا طبعا بجليهم. So she's saying no. طبعا is of course. No, of course I wash them. بس يعني. Okay, so this is what I wanted to explain. So I was confused at first because I thought she was saying that she doesn't actually wash. I mean, I thought that she doesn't actually wash them, and then but she's lying that she does wash them. I thought that's what. But actually, what's going on is that she washes them, but the reason that they're the wrong plate and the wrong fork, and she didn't want to give them to her friends, is because whether she washes them or not, they're for the help. They're for the lady who cleans the house. So we should not use the plates that the lady who cleans the house uses. You know, that's what she's expressing, right? So they're clean, but somehow they're not usable because of who is supposed to use them, which is someone who is not like us, مش زينا. So that's the whole sort of idea of the episode. So then she says, وبعدين ما هلبس. Remember, وبعدين is just like saying again, or yeah, like again with this, or you know, how are we still going on about this? So وبعدين ما هلبس. Bus as in but. So again with this but, you know. ما بتوقعها. I didn't expect it. So توقع is to expect. So ما بتوقعها. I don't expect it منك, from you, يا إيمان صف. So yeah, and then they just start eating, and then Imsanan says بتشهي هالهريسة, exactly as you know they had said before. I'm going to bring you harisa bitshahi. I'm going to bring you a delicious harisa. She says this harisa is delicious, but again, it's not really delicious. It's actually a verb that means, you could translate it as perhaps as appetizing. Comes from the word appetite. So yeah, khase is means especially. So well, it can also mean, yeah, well, that's fine. Special or especially. So especially with this fork and this plate. That's it. I was yazan ruh. You know, yeah. I was, yeah, yazan go. Goal. And then Abu Sanad says, bravo yaba. Remember, bravo is just like bravo. لعب, game. Yeah, لعب is game. Hello, nice. ورائع. This means amazing or awesome. Yeah, fantastic. So لعب حلو ورائع. بدعته. Okay, this is a cool word. I like this. I translate it as well done, and then they say it again, and I did well. Yeah, I mean, literally, it comes from the verb to create. And I find it interesting that he says badatu in form, like like he's using it as a form two verb, badda. But to my understanding, this is originally supposed to be a form four verb, abda. So abdat is you created, but it's like saying like well done. Actually, in my first video, one of my friends like commented like abdat, you know, you created, or well done. And this is where you get ibda, which means creativity, because it's the masdar of the form four abda. So to my understanding, it's normally supposed to be a form four verb. I hadn't heard it like badda, but why not? I mean, it's either way. It's just kind of like an expression. It's not really being used as a verb. It's just saying well done. But of course, it's still conjugated. So badatu, you, plural, well done. So it's saying well done specifically to you, plural, to Yazan and Sanad. وشباب الفريق الثاني, وشباب and the guys from Shab, young guy, Shabab, young guys. The guys from Fariq is section or team. So the guys from the team الثاني. ثاني means second, but it means the other. I don't know if I've said this. This is quite a nice word, actually. Yeah, so أول, first, ثاني, second, but it's used to say the next, or sorry, the other. So اليوم الثاني, the other day. الفريق الثاني, the other team. So شباب الفريق الثاني, the guys of the other team. كمان, they also بدعوا. See, here it's conjugated for them, plural. So بدعتوا, well done, you. بدعوا, well done, them, I guess, or they did well, right? So that's why I translate it as they did well, even though it means, or the origin of this verb is to create, right? Technically. And then this is the debrief. Actually, it's another scene, kind of. So Sally says, يعني احنا. Now it's, yeah, so it's just sort of the, in conclusion, يعني احنا, us, we, حتى لو. It's a sort of a set phrase. It goes together. حتى لو, it means even if, specifically. So even if, حتى لو, مختلفين. So حتى لو, well, yeah, so the word order is a bit switched, but حتى لو احنا مختلفين, even if we are different. مختلف is different. مختلفين is different, plural. If we're different, بأشياء, in some things. So even if we're different in some things, بس but في, there is, in this case it's being used as there is. So بس في, there is كثير أشياء, lots of things, بتجمعنا. So جمع means to group or to gather, yeah, or to join or to add in math. But so there are many things بتجمعنا that group us or that unite us. It actually, there's another word for unite, like that, like the United Nations and that kind of thing. But I guess this is how we say it in English, like things that unite us, right? But in Arabic, the verb that means more like to group is being used. So there are some things that group us, that bring us together. That could be a better translation, actually, even. There's lots of things that bring us together. Uhad, and this is al-aham. So this is a great word. So it comes from the word muhim. Muhim means important. This is a very important word, muhim. And it's actually the comparative form, which is also the superlative form. Oh, sorry. So comparative obviously means when you compare something, but superlative is the most of something. So أنا أكبر من أختي. I'm older or bigger, but older. I'm older than my sister, right? But if I say among my siblings, I am al-akbar, it means I am the oldest of my siblings. So it can be used as both comparative or the most, superlative. So muhim is important, but al-aham is the most important. So there's lots of things that bring us together, and that is what is most important. That's what she's saying. Yeah, so okay. كلنا, all of us, لازم نحترم بعض. So احترم is to respect. So لازم نحترم is we must respect بعض, each other. بعض, remember, it has a few different uses. Sometimes it can mean some. Well, that's technically what it does mean, but in Armiya, like really the best way to translate it into English often is as each other. So for example, ma'bad means with each other or together. That's how you say together. Ma'bad, together. Anbad, from each other. Zaybad, like each other. Dodbad, against each other. So in this case, lazim nihtarim ba'ad means we must respect each other. So all of us must respect each other. Or we all have to respect each other, whichever way. And then Sanad says unitolla. So tolla means to look. To look at something. So, and we must look. Unitolla. Lazim, there's a sort of implicit lazim. Lazim nitolla ala, at, we must look at الأشياء, the things, الحلوة, the nice things, المشتركة. اشترك means to share. Yeah, so اشترك means to share. So مشترك means shared things. So مشتركة. Oh, and actually this is a good example of the feminine thing, because it's مشتركة, feminine, because it's referring to أشياء. أشياء is things, and it's plural. So because it's inanimate, because it's an object, أشياء is treated as a feminine. So الأشياء الحلوة, actually this is exactly the example that I gave with بيوت الحلوة. So الأشياء الحلوة المشتركة. So we must look at the nice things that are shared. Actually, yeah, so مشتركة obviously means shared, but in English the better translation is the nice things we share, even though actually in Arabic an adjective is being used. But anyway, unkun and we must be, and that we be. Yeah. So I translated this as we must work together, but because in Arabic the expression being used is nkun eid wahde. That means eid is a hand, wahde is one, a single. So eid wahde. So we must be one hand. That's what it's saying. Like we must be one hand. But it's like saying we must work together, right? So we must work together. حتى نقدر نبني. So حتى نقدر نبني مستقبلنا مع بعض. In order to. Okay, so حتى. Sorry, there's actually kind of a lot of things going on here. So حتى. Remember, before I said حتى لو means even if, but the word حتى has another use. So in addition to meaning even in the expression حتى لو, even, it also is another word that is exactly as عشان. So عشان means in order to do something. So in this case, it also means in order to do something. So حتى and عشان are synonyms. They're exactly sort of work the same way, except حتى can also be used in the expression حتى لو, even if. So حتى can also mean even, but it also means in order to. So it could have been عشان here. That would be perfectly fine. عشان نقدر. But yeah, so حتى نقدر, so that we can, نبني, build, so that we can build. Actually, I think it just didn't fit in the line, so I didn't actually write we can, but that's what it's actually saying. So in order for us to be able to build, so نقدر نبني, build, مستقبلنا, our future. So مستقبل is future. So مستقبلنا, our future, مع بعض, this is what I said before, with each other or together. And then lastly, وما تنسوا, and don't forget. I think I mentioned this I'm sure I mentioned this in my video about the imperative, but remember that the imperative form is just used for affirmative, like yes kind of sentences. So insa is the imperative of nisi, and it means forget. But if I want to say negative, like don't do something, so in this case, don't forget, it's actually just ma with the subjunctive. So the actual imperative insa it's only used for positive or affirm. Well, yeah, positive sort of meanings. Yes, like do this. If you want to say don't do this, you use the subjunctive with ma. So ma تنسوا, don't forget. تعملوا, don't forget to do, or yeah. I mean, because these words are English words, share and subscribe, but they can't. So she says ما تنسوا تعملوا, share, subscribe. Don't forget to share and subscribe. But obviously share and subscribe are verbs that are in English, so you can't use them as verbs in Arabic. So she's being sort of, yeah, it's like that's why she has to use تعملوا. So don't forget to do, share, and subscribe. Sometimes they actually use the Arabic words. Like I thought about this when I was talking about mushtarak, because mushtarak can mean a subscriber, or mushtarak actually, the active participle of someone who is sharing, someone who is, so yeah, participating in a way. Yeah, that's kind of all sorry, I just thought of something, but ashtarak actually means to participate, but it's, I guess in this case, mushtarak can mean to share, because there's another verb which is, it's also the same root, sharak, which also more properly means to share, but it's like yeah. So I'm at the end of the video, but okay. I don't want to dwell on this too much. So sharak means to share. Ashtarak, in this sense, like here I translate it as to share, but it means sort of also to participate, or something that everyone is sort of involved in. So yeah, so right, so it's not sharing as like, let's share this food, sort of like among us, like sort of split it up all among us, but it's shared because we all have it, right? So it's a different kind of sharing, yeah, actually, because it's not like dividing something into so that we can all have some of it, but it's, or share with each other, like exchange with each other. It's more like something that we all have in this case. So mushtarak is, it's shared because we all have it. So it's a different kind of share. So anyway, I don't know why I do this, but yeah. So mushtarak or mushtarak can be a participant or a subscriber. So when you talk about YouTube, actually mushtarakin is subscribers. Yeah, there's another, you can also use the word followers, mutabain, but yeah, so I don't know why I started talking about this. Well, I just wanted to clarify, because I don't want someone to comment like, you're so wrong and why did you say that? But it's just because Arabic words don't always perfectly translate into English, so I just want to make sure that I don't regret saying something. All right, that's enough of that. Yeah, oops, maybe I shouldn't have done what I just did. 50 minutes? I thought I would have more time. But I guess it's because I dwelled a little bit extra on some things, since I knew that we had a little bit more time. So yeah, that's all. It's 2 o'clock actually. I have to go to class. So see you around. And yeah, let me know if you would like to see do a stream or something like that, or just any thoughts about things that I could do differently or do more of. Actually, I wasn't going to do the transcript for this week, but people were asking for it. So I'm really glad, because I actually really like doing the transcripts, and I do think it can be really beneficial. So yeah, anyway, thank you so much, and I will see you around. See you next week or whenever. Yeah, bye-bye.